Hello and welcome back to Political Debrief. I'm your host, Josh Oliverio. Today, I am very excited to be talking about housing, as it was one of the top priorities outlined by young people in the student budget consultation that we talked about on the last episode. Housing is a major priority for young people because it's very difficult in some parts of Canada to find an affordable place to call home. Today, I'm excited to be joined by the Honourable Ahmed Hussen, Minister of Housing, Diversity and Inclusion, to talk about Budget 2023 and what's in it to help young people find a home. Also, we're going to touch on the minister's very interesting story as the first Somalian immigrant to Canada to serve as a cabinet minister. Hope you enjoy. All right, Minister Hussen, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I want to start off. Many people might not know this about you, but you weren't born in Canada. You were born in Somalia, and then you immigrated to Canada. Do you want to share that story with us really quickly?
Yes, I was born in Somalia, and I came to Canada at the age of 16 in 1993. So I've been in Canada for 30 years now. I went through basically what most immigrants go through, which is starting over in a new country, building new friends, and really trying to settle in and contribute in any way that I could. And I have to say that from the very beginning, Canadians were generous towards me, as they continue to be generous towards newcomers who come to our country every day to help us grow our economy. And that's one of the things that makes Canada such a successful and great and prosperous country, is that we have this ability to literally welcome people from all corners of the world.
I'm curious if your experiences as an immigrant impact the way that you are an MP, or impact the decisions that you make as an MP or as a minister.
I think that each minister, each member of parliament brings to their job their own life experience, and mine is no different in that sense. Of course, my immigrant experience brings that perspective to the table. One of the things that my story has and my journey has made me realize is the greatness of this country, and how we all have a responsibility to make it even better. And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau always says that Canada didn't happen by accident, but at the same time, Canada is an ongoing project. We can always strive for better. We can always do what we can to improve the conditions of those who are around us and to make our communities better.
So let's dive now into the budget which your government released last month. There are many housing announcements included in there, and one of them is the announcement of a start date of the tax-free first home savings account. So do you want to explain to us what that is and how it's going to help young people?
Yeah, this is meant to help first-time home buyers access a tax-free savings account and save up to $40,000 tax-free in a savings account. This will make a big difference in the lives of many, many people who are looking to buy their first home. Secondly, Budget 2023 is also about making sure that we put in place relief measures. There's a lot of folks who are facing higher mortgage payments because of higher interest rates. And the federal government has issued guidelines to banks and other financial institutions to implement relief measures so that those who are facing higher mortgage payments have access to relief measures such as longer amortization periods, which bring down monthly mortgage payments.
So what are some other programs that you as a minister have rolled out to address the two main issues that I hear from young people around housing are around supply and around affordability. So what are some of the ways that your government's addressing those two issues?
Well, let me tackle affordability first. Before budget 2023, we were already delivering huge savings to families with kids who are accessing childcare. We are the government that has put in place a national early learning and childcare system that is meant to deliver affordable childcare, accessible childcare, and high quality childcare. And we're working towards $10 a day childcare. Right now, we've made progress, not just in the creation of more spaces, but also across the country. You're seeing at a minimum a 50% reduction in childcare fees. That 50% reduction at the minimum means more money back in the pockets of young people, young parents with families. Uh, the other thing that we're also continuing to do is we connected the Canada Child Benefit. We indexed it to inflation. So anytime inflation goes up, the Canada Child Benefit goes up. So 9 out of 10 families with kids have more money in their pocket because of the Canada Child Benefit. So these things were happening before Budget 2023. Budget 2023 continues that tradition by delivering a grocery rebate for low-income families of up to $467 and up to over $220 for low-income seniors and adults. In addition to that, we are investing $198 billion over the next 10 years to reinforce our public healthcare system. This means more family doctors, more nurses and other healthcare professionals, more community-based healthcare, and more innovation in the system. It also includes, by the way, a new Canadian dental care plan, which brings in low-income children, 18 years and under, and allows them to have access to affordable dental care, as well as low-income seniors and low-income Canadians with disabilities. That's another affordability measure. And finally, on housing supply, 2 weeks before the budget, the Prime Minister announced the launch of the Housing Accelerator Fund. This is a $4 billion program that is going mainly to municipalities, but other local governments and Indigenous peoples. And it is meant to speed up the permitting and delivery of housing. So through that program alone, we are seeking to unlock 100,000 additional homes and also make systems changes that will result in the doubling of new homes built in Canada in the next 10 years. The National Housing Strategy programs continue. We are building more and more affordable housing together with nonprofits as well as private sector folks. And those investments are ongoing. And in fact, we've increased those investments over the last number of years.
And I'm curious, one of the things that's mentioned in the budget here is talking about Indigenous housing and how sometimes supports provided to Indigenous people aren't available to certain Indigenous populations because they aren't living directly on a reserve. And it talks about investing $4 billion to address that issue. Do you want to go into more detail on that?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Indigenous peoples living in urban, rural, and northern communities outside of reserves, they don't feel that they're included in the distinctions-based funding that our government has provided to Indigenous communities and Indigenous organizations. So they felt that there's a need for a dedicated and distinct urban, rural, and northern Indigenous housing strategy for Indigenous people off reserve. And we've delivered in a big way. But last year's budget delivered $300 million as an initial investment. And budget 2023 follows that with a $4 billion investment in the urban, rural, and northern Indigenous housing strategy.
You mentioned municipalities earlier, and in preparation for my conversation with you, I spoke with a municipal councillor from my area. And I asked him, what's one thing that the federal government can do to help municipalities increase housing? And he brought up an interesting point, how Canada is welcoming more and more immigrants than ever. And he mentioned that some of the things that the government could do in a more indirect way is to increase the amount of qualified construction workers or people that are going into those skilled trades to help build those homes. I know you used to be the Minister of Immigration and Citizenship. Do you have any thoughts on that idea?
I actually have some really good news for that city councillor. We're doing exactly that this year. So I have been working closely with the Minister of Immigration to do exactly that. So we will be dedicating unique spaces in our economic skilled immigration streams for two types of occupations: healthcare professionals and people who are coming to help us build homes for Canadians. So that's exactly what we're doing. So I'm happy to know that that we're moving in that direction, and that city councilor is what he's saying is exactly what we're doing, and we agree with that sentiment.
Minister, my last question for you today is the last question I ask all my guests. If you had to go back to when you were a young person, we'll say 14 or 15, what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Good question. I would volunteer more. I would volunteer more, and I would expand my network of people who are doing different things, because I think in life, when you reach a point where you become a member of parliament or some other responsible occupation, you bring all those experiences to the table. And I think the more we're exposed to different experiences, the better and richer our experiences become for when we are in decision-making roles. So I would just volunteer more and expand my network and start that process even earlier. That's what I would do.
All right, Minister Hussen, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate this.
And that's it for this special episode of Political Debrief. Hope you enjoyed my first conversation with the Cabinet Minister. Hope there will be many more to come. As always, I would invite you to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform, and like us on social media, and maybe if you only follow me on Twitter, check out our Facebook page. You can be my first Facebook follower at facebook.com/politicaldebrief, or Instagram if you prefer, instagram.com/politicaldebriefshow. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this interview. Hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks' time with a new episode.